Nice to have you here, Olivia.
Thank you for having me.
A pleasure. Thank you for making time for coming to Homo Sound. So let's talk about your music journey. How did your relationship with music start, like from the very beginning?
Well, it actually started from the very early beginning, in fact. My family were really into music. My parents were collecting records, all kind of style of music. And since I am born, there was always like music around. At my place, I was waking up every Sunday morning with some music in the living room. So I always had this kind of touch with sound and sensitivity with it from my early age. And later on, when I was 8 years old until 14 years old, I started to do African dance.
Wow. To dance or to listen to?
Dance.
Okay.
Dancing on drums. So the teachers were Senegalese drummers. So they were playing like djembe, all kind of drums from Senegal. And the aim was just to express yourself physically, to dance on the rhythm, on the sound of the percussions. And this experience really gave me a physical interaction with the sound. That was my first physical experience with music, because before it was more of a background sound that I was imbued with.
Yeah.
And this first experience for me was like, wow, okay, I got a sense of rhythm. I could let myself go, not controlling my body and doing movements. Also learning the Senegalese dance from the tribes, which was super interesting for me as a kid.
Wow.
To just have this connection already with a different culture.
Yeah.
And later on, as a teenager, I went out in clubs. I was going a lot in clubs,
Yeah.
but it was like more mainstream clubs. I was listening to French DJs, well, Laurent Garnier, of course, but like Miss Keating, The Hacker, all of the French touch. And yeah, that was also like my first experience in clubs, but not necessarily into electronic music. I was also going to a lot of reggae and dub concerts.
Yeah.
I mean, was not important for me to find a style. I just wanted to experience the sound in different ways and like with different genre.
Yeah.
And then I moved to London for my studies and started to go to some drum and bass events, breakbeat, experimental performance. And my first real experience in an electronic music club was at Fabric. So that was like how I really discovered electronic music. And it was also a very diversified lineup. So like from Octave One, T. Schwartz to also Villa Lobos. But still, I was not like that much following a certain kind of style. I was just like still in a discovery mode and also discovering myself and what I liked and making my own opinions of what if I feel the music, like how differently I was feeling the music. And then later on, during my studies at university, I met a girl, my ex-girlfriend, who was a DJ. She was based in Lyon, so I was always going back and forth from London to Lyon to see her. Yeah. She was more into house, and she was following a lot the Chilean techno, so Villa Lobos, Dandy Jack, all of the crew, the Perlon label as well, and also the house and the house from Chicago and Detroit. So I was feeling very spoiled, because I really had easy access to this genre, the house genre, and started to understood as well, because she was a DJ, the craft of DJing. She was always like giving me like some nice information about how the DJ was mixing, that the fact that he was playing on time because he threw the first track at the right moment. And so I was like always like learning about the craft of DJing, but more as an amateur, and I found it very interesting to learn about that. And at some point, I got the opportunity, because I could speak English fluently, to work for a magazine about music called Nonconforme, based in Lyon.
Okay.
And so they were asking me to go and interview the DJs in Lyon for some electronic music events. And I was like, okay, yeah, why not? I never really experienced this in France. And this is how I started to go back and forth for the magazine and interviewing like DJs. But it was more house back then. It was more oriented with house music DJs. And I remember the experience that I had because I never saw this in France. All the time I was going out in France, it was for this kind of more like mainstream clubs where I was going there to see the DJ I wanted to, but the crowd was so different. And my first experience I had there in this event was very emotional for me because it was the first time I could see people dancing alone, having men dancing on their own in their bubble, like everyone had space to dance. And I remember the first time I saw that, I was like, wow, like I almost like had a bit almost tear in my eyes to see like, well, they're actually dancing, you know, like there's a real physical interaction with the music. And it's not like this kind of thing that you feel when you're going to some mainstream clubs where, you know, like guys are coming to you in a weird way, you know, like this kind of totally different interaction that you have with people. So yeah, I mean, for me, it was really beautiful to see how it felt like a unity. And when I started to interview the DJs, I also realized that it was a very accessible world. Like they were super open. It was a safe environment. I got like very strong relation with the artists with whom I stayed in touch afterward. When they were coming back to Lyon, they were writing to me, and I mean, I felt very safe and comfortable to interview them, but also further than that, being able to talk about music with them. So yeah, it was a like different kind of experience I have with the music, but also with the actors of the music.
Yeah, and at that time, so you had started playing a little bit DJing because of your ex-girlfriend.
No. At that time, I was not DJing at all. I was just a music lover, listening, experimenting, but as a party person,
So enjoying, for example, dancing or interviewing the other DJs.
Yeah.
And was there a specific moment or event where you started thinking, oh, I want to be a DJ?
It kind of happened naturally, but I didn't want it to be a DJ, to be honest. I had turntables, like vinyl turntables at home. But for me, it was like, even if I have like records and turntable, it doesn't mean that I want to be a DJ, you know? Like you can have a pen and a piece of paper. It doesn't make you becoming a writer, you know? You know what I mean? So it was more for me like the interest of knowing the craft of mixing two tracks together. It was also this kind of meditative exercise in like learning how to feel the beat, reconnecting also with the classes I had with African dance and be like, okay, also understanding like the structure of the tracks and everything. So for me, it was more a fun thing to have at home.
Yeah.
And also, all of my friends, they were DJs. Like every single person, even not my friends, but every single person I was meeting, they were all DJs. So at some point I was like, I don't want to be a DJ. I don't want to be like everyone else. Like, oh, what do you do? I'm a DJ. I'm a DJ. I'm like, okay, well,
I'm done.
Not for me, you know? But at some point, because I had like very, as I said, strong connection with the artists I was interviewing, at some when they were playing in Lyon, afterwards I was organizing some after hours, which was quite special because all the organizers from different structures were coming to this after hour to connect with the artists, but also some DJs and producers, and it was a best opportunity for me to be able to connect more with the artists and get to know about their experience, ask questions, not being scared to ask questions because we were in a safe environment. And also having the chance to have my friend playing my records. So that was really interesting because I was discovering some like combinations of tracks that I would have never thought about. And that was really fun to be like, oh, wow, okay. Oh, I have this track, man, maybe it's the B-side. I never heard about it. I mean, like, oh, I forgot about that track. And that was really interesting to also have all of my friends, because I was one of the few who have vinyl turntable at home, to practice also like playing vinyl at my place, bringing their own records for this kind of after hours, and just like exchanging experience, exchanging our way of mixing, and also, as I said, like also like having them playing my records, I felt very honored, because even the artists who the guests from the clubs were also playing my records. And I was like, wow, he's playing at my place and he's playing like my stuff. So, so it was very enriching. And at some point came a moment where a crew wanted me to play. And I didn't want to play in the club. And I was like, but I'm not a DJ. But I think after sometimes hearing me playing in after hours and like, they kind of figure out that it was really started to be a real passion for me, and I really wanted to be part of this community and creating these spaces for everyone to connect. Who with like these organizers who in normal days they would not connect with each other because they have like sometimes parties happening at the same time. So this is what I felt beautiful about, and this opportunity was a bit different because they asked me to play in a squat. So like some artists were living there. It was in the middle of the city of Lyon. And it was a school before, but it's a school that closed. And so they wanted to organize an event there. And they wanted me to play in the chapel of the school. The table was I don't know, in French you said the hotel, you know, like the main table where the priest is
giving...
exactly, the hostie and everything. So okay, this sounds fun and original, I can do that. So this is how I ended up playing there. And it was like, kind of crazy because in the end it gathered like 2,000 people in this whole school. The police came, but they couldn't get in because there were people living there, and it was this constant stress of like, are they gonna come? These are my turntable. This is my mixer.
While you were playing,
maybe at any moment they're gonna come and just like take all of my stuff away. So there was this kind of electric vibe and tension, but like this sense of like connection. We were like, we're gonna do it, you know. At some point, even the electricity cut, and I was like, okay, this is the end. They are coming. Or like, we're done. And then boom, the electricity went back. It was just a guy who just like stepped on the plug and he plugged it back, and I was like, okay. And that created this kind of crazy moment, you know, where it's like music comes back. I played like this record from Interstellar Fugitives, like it was just magical, you know. And I was like, well, how like was my best? I couldn't have a better first experience as a DJ than just playing in this kind of environment. Where you're doing things but like more underground, and in the end nothing really happened. The cops couldn't come in, so everything was fine. I was just waiting with all of my material afterwards to find the right timing to take my stuff and like run away with both of my fly case, and my friend had the mixer, like go.
Wow.
So yeah, that was my first experience as a DJ.
So interesting. And were you playing what kind of music were you playing at that time?
I was playing techno. So yeah, because I discovered techno a bit later after I discovered house and everything. In fact, I discovered techno in 2012. So it was for this festival called Nuit Sonore. And it was, okay, it's a classic, but I'm part of this classic. Banklock and Marcel Detman playing back to back the whole day. And I didn't know anything about this style because since my girlfriend was into house, I was more following her in this kind of events. And I was just like amazed. I was like, whoa, what is this style? Like, I really fall in love with the aesthetic and also the drums, you know, the groove, the rhythm of techno really reminded me the rhythm I was dancing on with African dance. Exactly. So I really had like this kind of physical, visceral need to know what it was, because I was like, wow, like it's so modern. The sound is so modern. Who are these people? And this is at that moment I was still working with this magazine, but I had in mind to open my own web magazine. And I remember right after this event, I kind of sneaked in as a journalist in the back of the stage to get to know Marcel Detman, to be like, yo, man, that was insane. Like, I really loved the performance. The back-to-back was like, it's the first time I'm listening to techno music. I'm about to launch my own web magazine. Can I have your contact if we want to like collaborate on some stuff for it? It was super nice, super open. He gave me his contact. Then I flew back to London. That was my last year. I was finishing my master. And when they had this Osgut night, Osguton night was my last day in London after my master. And I got to know Marcel. I met Marcel Fengler, Nick Hopner, and it was in 2012. So it was like a long time ago. Like, Osgut was established, but not like
Massive, yeah.
It was not massive, but they were so open. After that, we spent like a couple of hours in the hotel talking about music. I was like, guys, I want to know more about techno. Like, can you give me some like reference of like German producers or DJ I should find out about? And they were like, yeah, check out Shed, check out Patrick Grazer, which is on Circle Request now, FDemi. And I was like writing it down like a student, like, okay, I'm gonna check them out. And then like the funny thing is, like, at that party, everyone was sweating so much. It was a Hydra party in a warehouse, and there was white painting on the floor, and we all left with some painting on all of our clothes and our shoes. And my mom picked me up at the airport. I had all painting over, and I was like, Mom, I don't want to like go for like a formal job. I just want to start my magazine. I started to connect so much with like all of these different DJs. I want to give my chance to throw myself entirely into it. And I'm still young, and I want to do it before I just like do what everyone does. Or what my parents were expecting me to do after doing this marketing management studies, like all of the thing I did, which I found interesting, but I was like so much falling in love with this scene, with the people, the actors around. I was like, I want to give my chance to like start something. And that's after this that I moved to Lyon.
Okay.
And I opened my web magazine, which was called Stellar Fugitives, which is a nod of Interstellar Fugitive and Underground Resistance. And I started to make deep research about the origin of techno. So I was very academical at the beginning because I didn't go too much. I didn't get the chance to go too much in techno events when I started to discover it. But I wanted to know so much about it and wanted to share it on the platforms. And I met a lot of like nerdy guys that I knew, like it was the secret garden, this sound, you know, and I was respecting it so much because you could see that they were like meeting each other through forums of like famous artists, and they got to know like each other like through the internet, and like very nerdy people. Yeah. And this is how I really like, I managed to surround myself with a lot of purists, well, a bit haters as well. But I needed that to understand like what is good, what is bad, understanding like, okay, I can see like this kind of production, there's not much effort done on it. This one is more like reflective, more deep, and so we had a crew, a very strong crew and connected crew, and we started to just share our passion by writing articles and going to events and being invited to events, which is a bit hard for me because I was a bit of an outsider when I arrived in Lyon. Yeah. So people were like, who is she? Like, because all the time it was the artists who were putting me on the guest list. Yeah. And it was a bit hard because it's a bit of a closed environment. They all know each other for ages, and I arrived like, yo, the
outsider, like,
chilling with the DJ. Like, where does she come from? But I really came like with a good attitude, you know, like I'm not here to like step on your territory. I'm a journalist. I'm impartial. I'm just here to maybe do a report about the event and talk about like music.
Yeah. And you were curious about the whole thing, so probably the energy you had made people excited to have you there.
They understood it little by little. And I gotta say, this after hours, they were like, okay, she's in.
You had the right to talk and to be here.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think it can be hard for anyone who just jump into a new city with a new community. But I gotta say, the artists really helped me out with that, you know, like they were like, it's okay, don't feel uncomfortable, you're with me, you're with me, no worries, I'm not gonna like neglect you, like I'm gonna chill with you, because I was a bit scared at the beginning. I was like, I don't know if it feels right for me to be in the backstage, but I really wanted to like get an interaction with you and not being like on the list and dance and ciao, you know. So yeah, I mean, they all made me feel so comfortable that at some point I was like, at some point they understood that I came here with good intention.
From the heart.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so, and at that point, you started also organizing parties and playing yourself?
Yes. Well, it was not for me to play, but since we also wanted to bring new artists, we started to organize some dub techno events, because dub techno was not really a genre there. I mean, when I was living there was no dub techno events, so we started to book Deep Chord, Idealist. We did also some house party with Benedict Frey from their family, and some techno with Fredrik and Madalba when they were back in the days resident at the Homopathic events in Berlin. And we were the only one who were doing events with 4 hours format. So it was not like this kind of like adding up like a lot of DJs to make people coming. We had a very good relationship with this club called DV1, which was back in the days an institution, like open for like 15 years. Everyone played there. It's quite of a small club, very intimate, and I was getting along super well with the organizer. Okay. And at some point, we were like, we don't want to bring like 3 big artists. We have a resident. My friends were also playing, so they were the resident. Eventually, sometime I was doing back-to-back with my friend, but never really wanted to play on my own. It was just to have fun. And yeah, we had this 4 hours format that didn't exist in Lyon.
4 hour set. So each DJ would perform for 4 hours.
Yeah, okay, 4 hours set. And we were not far from Switzerland. And there were some artists who never really came to France, like Fanon Flowers was playing the next weekend in Bergen. We had flight shares with them and stuff. I mean, with the booker, I was doing flight share with them. I mean, it was so funny because I was not entirely connected with Bergen, but there was already some connection made, and a lot of people from Switzerland came to see these artists. And we were feeling very honored that a lot of people were traveling to come and like to our event.
Yeah. And so progressively then from there, you started also DJing more and more yourself.
Yes, eventually after this squat thing, this squat crazy experience. At some point I did my first gig in the club. My first gig in the club, I wanted to do it back to back because I was not feeling ready and comfortable with it. So I did a lot of back to back before I accepted finally to do a first solo gig. Okay. And eventually, at some point, I got along super well with some organizers called Particule, and I was playing as a resident there, which was good because after 6 years in London, in Lyon, sorry, after 6 years in Lyon, I started to wanted to discover even more about the scene, and I decided to move to Berlin. Okay. And meanwhile, I was living in Berlin and experimenting new things. I could go back to Lyon and play as a resident for their parties, and was really good for me. It was like very like the right progression. Exactly.
When was that? When did you move to Berlin?
It was in 2015.
15, okay.
Or 16, like in between these 2 years,
And thinking about like how you started going from only playing back to back to playing your solo DJ set, was there something that was like fear that was keeping you stuck?
Yes. Yes, because I was also super intimidated by my friends who knew so much about music that at some point I was a bit like, I don't deserve to be a DJ. They know so much more about it than I do, you know. So I was a bit intimidated about it, you know. I was like, I mean, now I'm more confident about it, and I'm like, I mean, things are done the way it was supposed to be done, you know. And even if I was passionate and knew how to mix and knew how to dig and knew how to discover new things and building up a set, I still had this kind of very like intimidation because I was surrounded by only like guys. I was the only woman.
Wow. Yeah.
So I know that I felt a bit intimidated, and I was like, do I really deserve to be where I am here, you know? And but then it came with time and experience, and at some point I realized, yes, I have my place here, and I think it's when I moved to Berlin that I managed to kind of let things go, be like, okay, this is a new life, this is a new scene. And I had my first gig in About Blank at Buttons. That was my first gig, my first 4 hours set. And I didn't play that much before as a solo gig. And I was like, at that moment, I was like, okay, I don't have the influence of people around me in Lyon. This is happening to me here in Berlin. And I got this opportunity. I want to just live it to its fullest. Yeah. And
And do you think maybe because you played in Berlin, it was a different environment, you felt less pressure?
Yes.
You were like free, a new person, like blank
Yes,
sheet.
kind of.
Yeah.
Because you do have a little bit of social pressure. Yes, because everyone has their own background, and I was so much admiring all of my entourage about how passionate they were that even if I was as much passionate, I always had this feeling of like, yeah, I don't know, it doesn't feel right. I don't know if I mean, you know, like this kind of doubting moments.
Yes.
So, but of
For
course,
sure.
when I started, when I did my first gig in About Blank, like for this Buttons event, I was overstressed because it was my first 4-hour gig. You know,
Of course.
4-hour set. I was like, wow, okay, this is how they do here.
So,
Yeah. But yeah, in the end, it went well, and the crew made me feel very comfortable. So
Super
and
cool.
it was a new start for me, actually. As a DJ, that was the moment I confirmed myself. Okay, I'm a DJ.
I'm a DJ, yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I think probably that also gave you more confidence going forward.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you were living what you wanted to do without the fear. You kind of
Yeah.
outgrew your fears of
Yeah.
showing up. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you look at, so this was like 2015, 16?
Yes.
Okay, so like 7 years ago, roughly.
Yeah.
How much did it change? Like, did your approach to DJing change since then?
Yeah, for sure. Many factors. I mean, in 7 years, your style change because you get to hear more music, so you get to understand more your ears and what you like and what your ears like. I feel today that I'm a bit more mature about what I want to play, and I mean, even my process of digging is faster. Like now, I don't have to listen to a full track to understand if I like it or not. If like, yeah, it's much more faster for me to understand straight away. Okay, I like that track. I don't like that track or whatever. It does, not that I don't like that track, but it doesn't fit what I want to broadcast. So yeah, faster process to dig, but also my style. Yeah, of course, my style evolved, and I feel today that I'm getting closer to really what kind of sound I want to elevate in the scene.
Your voice.
Yeah,
in a way.
yeah. The sound, the sound that I want to elevate, because there's different sound, different genre, and now I'm really getting more narrowed about what I want to play, what kind of techno I want to play. Also, because I moved to Berlin as a DJ, I evolved because the fact that as a person I evolved. I was going out to all of these parties like Buttons, Zona, Same Beaches. I mean, when I started to move to Berlin, I was going everywhere trying to discover all of the artists, but I was also mostly going to the queer parties. So as a queer person, I felt like so much liberated, and I understood how these kind of spaces are needed in the club culture for the queer community. And so I got close to all of all of the queer community. And I also experienced a lot of things from Berghain, which is another school. I mean, Berghain is top-notch engineering, you know? It's not as if you go there and you're going to think like, oh, the sound system is a bit ta-ta-ti, ta-ta-ta. Everything sounds perfect, so the only thing you focus on is the music. And there I really got to know the dance floor. That was the place where I could let myself dance, connect with myself, connect with the people around, and I could really understand the dance floor and the vibe, and also how a DJ is doing good something, or how a DJ sometimes can put a track with a long break, and you're dancing at some point, it kind of kill your flow, kind of break your legs, because it's like, oh, okay, when is the beat coming back, you know? This kind of example of how you see how, from my opinion, things were really
working
well for the dancers, and things that were not working that well and should be avoided if from my experience, stuff that I should avoid when I'm building my journey. So that was a real school, and a school of life as well, because it was just, I don't know, it's such a place of freedom. Like all of these places, even the Buttons, they were such a place of freedom that you get to know yourself, you feel safe, and you feel also super self-confident. This is really, I got to know myself and be like, wow, okay,
Yeah.
I know who I am, and so yeah, I evolved also this way, and my purpose also changed. My purpose went beyond just my musical statement. I realized as a DJ that I also have a social impact, and I need to engage with that community. You know.
Interesting. Yes.
So also the way I was planning on organizing events changed as well. You know. So yeah, I mean there were different things that different factors that made me evolve as a DJ.
Yeah, yeah. And I think this is something that a lot of people feel about Berlin. Like, you know, this freedom, it's almost like freedom is protected and it's encouraged by everybody in any environment, especially clubs. I think it's beautiful to know that you kind of evolved, that you felt more yourself, you found more about yourself.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing that we have here in Berlin.
For sure.
Yeah.
We are very spoiled.
We are very spoiled. Yeah. It's
Never forget about that.
It's very true. It's a gift. Yeah.
Yes.
And when you think about, for example, the current environment, the music scene, for new artists that want to find their authentic self and a way to express themselves, do you have any suggestions for people to find more confident in who they are, express themselves more freely with their music, and on maybe even in the way they communicate to their audience?
Well, I think there are different ways to communicate with the audience for sure. I just recommend all of these people to just go out and live the experience by themselves, to be able to understand all of the things that they need to understand, you know. Because if you want to become a DJ, or I'm talking about the DJ side of things, you also need to go out and see how the DJs are like managing or building an atmosphere. You also want to connect with the community and network, because from the outside, it feels like everything is going so fast. A lot of collectives are here. They are like going like very, very like they're getting big very fast, and it can be a bit like, whoa, you feel a bit like out of it, you know. And it's super important to be part of this community, to network, and also like to create project. Like if you feel like you have a project and you're surrounded by the people who inspire you, don't feel scared to make a step into the scene and add something to it, you know, because if it's meaningful for you, then it should be meaningful for the people as well.
Yeah.
So there's this, and also I guess you also have to make your own experience in the club, and having this live experience.
Yes.
And not like reading on platforms how a DJ set went, how a needle dropped, or how, like, I don't know, like sometimes a lot of people are like spending too much time on social platforms, like some specific social platforms where you have a community who's just like giving feedbacks, like as if like the DJ is passing an exam, you know, and you're like, what the hell, man? Like, go there, experience by yourself, make your own opinion, you know. Yeah. Don't read all of this crap, because what matters is the live experience. If a DJ is making a mistake, people will understand, and maybe sometimes it creates something magical, you know, because you see this human thing behind the decks and not a machine, you know. So yeah, like try to humanly how do you say it? Invest yourself.
Yeah. And experience it like from a not judging. I think judging, it prevents a lot of...
Yeah, exactly. It's never has been a place of judgment.
Yeah.
I
think judging is very dangerous because it prevents us from experiencing things to the fullest extent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So too many people are following what people say on platforms, and at some point it's like, don't be a robot, don't be a follower. Just, you're human. You have your part of sensitivity.
Yeah.
So just like do your own experience, and like what is happening there, stay there. It's like what happens there should stay there, because it's something magical. It's an experience you build. It's people you meet. It's an energy that is around with the DJ, like a conversation, you know, going on between the artist and the crowd. So
yes.
Yeah.
It's so important, and you touched a little bit on social media. So how do you see social media? Does it work for you? What doesn't work? What works?
So I still don't have the secret of social media, of how things should work. But I think for me, it was after the pandemic, he really had like a real impact. Before the pandemic, since I'm coming from this culture of in Berlin, it's no picture, no video.
Yeah.
So I never had like the reflex of having my friends taking their phone and like say like, oh yeah, can you film me when I play? You know, it's like they live the present moment. They're living the present moment. They don't care about taking their phone out or like, they are really, living the moment. During the pandemic, there was a lot of digital interaction, streamings, but also like a distorted view on the experience in parties. For instance, after the pandemic, there was a lot of DJs that I know from the scene who started to have videos of them playing in clubs that before it was no picture, no video policy. And I was like, whoa, okay, this is changing. I never did this. I was just like, for me, what's important and meaningful is to thanks the promoters who invited me to an event and also thanks the dancers who were there. But then I didn't want it to show more about that because, what happened there was there. And I'm more relying on street credibility of people talking about it afterwards that get me some more opportunities in playing in other places than having to look behind the screen of like this kind of distorted reality where it's a bit sad because it really reflects this toxicity of the mainstream culture, and capitalism, and it puts pressure on the artists also while they're performing because they need to post these snippets where everybody is like this, and like people think that for 4 hours you're like this, whoa, for 4 hours, like doing the whole performance, it's not like this. Maybe it happens like couple of times during a set, but for a DJ it's like, we need to capture that moment where they are all like hands up and. But it's not like that. It's more than that, and that also put pressure on the DJs to perform as well, So but if you don't post about a gig, it seems like it didn't happen,
right?
So it's a bit tricky. So you have to be careful. Just try to add things that are meaningful for you, like important for you, and try to really connect as much as you want with your craft because. The more you're passionate about things, the more people will resonate with you.
I think so because I think at a human level we connect more with the passion when we see that. It's tricky because, as you were saying, like you see a lot of Instagram content. The one that gets shared the most is the one where these people like everybody's hands up, which of course happens, is nice, but sorry.
But the reality is when you're a booker, you never booked a DJ, what are you going to see? You're going to check the mix and then you're going to go on the social media, know? So in a way, all of the amount of followers, the amount of like people interacting with you, the videos that show all of these people is going to revolve on the amount of tickets they're going to sell at the event,
Exactly.
So that's why we are a bit trapped, and that's why I call it like cyber slavery, because you are slave to the algorithm and you don't have any privacy anymore. That's the problem. So I think you just have to use this tool in a more in a more clever way. But it's also important to use social media in the right way, because the reality is that it's your platform and a lot of people gonna judge your popularity through this. So
it's almost like to some degree necessary if you are a new artist.
It is. Someone told me talent is not enough, you know?
For sure.
You have to use all of these tools to be able to promote yourself, but don't do too much. Just don't do too much, you know? If there is a good vibe and a good moment, okay, you can have a video of you playing, but I just want to say that people shouldn't just reflect on these moments and think that this is the way, because it's like that. It's just a distortion of what is a real party and the reality, you know?
And for you, how do you prevent that pressure, that anxiety from getting to you?
I mean, I'm trying to be as close as possible to my music and being fulfilled as much as possible with what I'm doing and with my craft. And I can admit that there are some moments of anxiety, you know, like it's, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who have this kind of anxiety. You put a post, you know, everything goes well, you have a lot of like and blah, blah, blah. But then like the next day you put this, another post, you can see that it didn't have the same impact, and then you ask yourself some question. Maybe I should have written it in a different way. Maybe I should have put that picture first or that one, and blah blah blah. This kind of like stupid questions that you ask. I mean, for me, there was a moment it took a lot of energy from me, because I was like, it was giving me a bit of anxiety, you know. But I understood afterwards, you know, like it's so intangible. Like so many factors can happen. Maybe it's not the right time. Maybe, I don't know, like so many things that works with the algorithm that maybe your post didn't work the way you want it to. And I'm really encouraging people that they shouldn't be affected by it, because this is this whole thing about like instant gratification, they call it, you know. But the problem is nowadays is more about like instant validation. As I said, if you don't post about something, it feels like it didn't happen. So yeah, of course I had a bit of anxiety towards it, but I'm really working on it, and I'm really trying to put a step back with social media. When I'm doing my post, it's done. I cannot go back in the past. This is done. Move on, you know. So move on.
It's so interesting. I was listening yesterday to a podcast with Rick Rubin. This like amazing, very famous producer that produce a lot of like big artists like hip hop, rock as well. And he was saying a lot about how he never looks back at his previous records, because he's like, I don't want the pressure. I don't want also myself thinking to influence the way I'm going to produce my next record or I see my art. And I find it so interesting, because it's like, I think we need as artists to isolate ourselves from all of this mental chatter and outside feedback. Otherwise, we will never be able to express our art.
And it doesn't mean anything. You know, in the end, what counts is the music. Music comes first. So
and the experience that we have,
and the real experience of it. You know. So you just have to be a bit clever doing what you're supposed to do as an artist. Not letting go of all of these tools that you have access. You have to play the game. But do it in an intelligent way, and don't be too much affected by it, because in the end of the day, the people who really have a connection with you are those who saw you play.
Yes. And do you see any example of any artist at the moment that like manage their communication with the audience well?
Well, DVS1, no? I think DVS1 is
the
the king. Now, first of all, he knows how to express himself very well. And I mean, he doesn't have Instagram. Nothing there. But he still uses Facebook. And if he has something to say about the scene, about occurring events that happen in clubs all around the world that should be like need help from us and stuff. I mean, what he does is like he's really like adding something to the web. He's bringing knowledge, and he's also opening all of this knowledge. Create also like it's open to conversation. You know, that's the good thing. He brings knowledge. And in the end, you will see through the comments that there is an open conversation where people are bringing their opinion, and he also interacts with the opinions of people. And this is the clever way to do things, you know. You add something that is meaningful to the web, you know. And so for me, he's just the best with this, because also he has a lot of people who look up to him. Look up to him, look up to him, and he's not here to selfie himself, you know. He talks when there is something that needs to be said, and something important that have to be highlighted in the scene. And I think for me is the best model to follow.
I love Zach. I mean, as a person, as a DJ artist, very much respect him. And I think, I mean, it's a great way to communicate. I think I respect that a lot. I always wonder, he comes from a different vintage year, right? Because he became known, and now he gets booking because of who he is, who he has been for the last 20 plus years, right? I always wonder, like, if you are a person that has the same character as Zach, and that's your way of communicating, without Instagram, would that be harder for you or not? Like, I think it's harder now, right? If you don't communicate with the usual channels to get known as much.
But no. I think you have to use these tools. It's part of it. You have to use these tools. Once again, you just have to use it in a good way, in a proper way, you know. It's all about the content in the end, you know. Of course, Zach is established since a long time, so whatever he says, people is gonna check it out.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
whoa, what is he gonna talk about? Exciting, you know?
You're waiting for the
Yeah. But I think you can also become that person if you are feeling engaged with the community, and being engaged means like going beyond just the musical statement, and also like because you have a responsibility, you have an influence. Even even like artists who are not that much established, they still have a bit of influence on the scene, you know, and they need to have this kind of political statements and position themselves to have to generate a good influence on the people who follow them, you know. So I think it's all about the content, and yeah.
Yeah, it's a super interesting topic. Social media is always open question.
It's a tricky one.
Yeah. And I wanted to talk about your collective, your Flinta collective convent. Tell us more about how you started it. What was the purpose? What are you doing right now to evolve this purpose?
So it started during the pandemic in 2020, because back in the days we had a lot of things to think about. We had a lot of time, so it was really a moment for me to reflect on my experience in the clubs with the community, but also for my friends who were raving with me. And we had these moments where we were sharing some like good experience, being a bit nostalgic, missing this sense of connection, like human connection with people. But we also shared about our bad experience with the scene. And I realized that there were a lot of people from the Flinta community who didn't feel safe in the LGBTQT++ events. Because, in fact, in Berlin, they are predominantly gay. There is a big gay community. Which is good, it's good. But as lesbians and trans and non-binaries, like non-binaries were sometimes misgendered.
Right.
Trans people didn't feel safe in these kind of events that are queer events, and women as well. And so I came to gather a lot of friends, Flinta friends, that I found inspiring, who had a lot of experience with the raving scene and with the community. We gathered together and we talk about our experience, our own experience, and we all came to the point that we need a safe space for us. That we don't have this anymore. We didn't have that back then. You just had like the Leken party, and that was it. It was something very new to create this kind of space for us. And we also didn't want it to have a space just for the music. We also wanted to have like other things happening, like art installation, workshop. And at some point we were like, okay, let's do it. We have time during the pandemic to write something about it, to create a manifesto. So we wrote a big manifesto of like what we want to do, what is our collective. We had this kind of open conversation on Telegram with people from the community to be able to make sure that we're using the right words to include everyone from the Flinta umbrella and not being misunderstood. So that was beautiful because we were all kind of growing together, you know, like learning together about like being precautious about how we're gonna communicate about it. And in the end of the pandemic, we opened our website with the manifesto, and then we started to like gather some ideas of what could be the first event. And so we really stick to what we wanted. So it was not only about music, it was about art, it was about workshop, about mental health care. Like kind of a small festival, you know, not only music oriented, but a lot of different activities and workshops that people could attend, like before the music start, after, some art installment, performances. So like we got really lucky because since it was kind of new in Berlin, we got the help from the German government. To get some fundings. They were really keen to make this happen, and this is how we managed to have the budget to really create something special. And this is how Convent started to see the light right after the pandemic.
And you started, so live events started, I guess, at the end of the lockdowns. And are you planning more live events at the moment? Are you thinking?
Yes, but every event takes a lot of time because
Yeah.
it's we always use a certain theme, a thematic, and we involve a lot of people, different artists, visual artists, technology, performers, singers. I don't know. Last time we had breathing exercises and meditation, so it takes a lot of time. We don't want to just throw something just to throw something. You know, we try to think like to have a narrowed idea and concept and having the right people involved in it. So yeah, it takes time, but something's gonna happen.
I'm very, very looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And in these first like 3 years, what was one of the best things that happened that you experienced?
With Convent?
With Comment.
I mean, for me, the most meaningful experience was vulnerability. The fact that in what I found beautiful is that we really managed to create a safe space. Really, like after that, we got a lot of feedbacks of people writing to us. They really felt safe, and it was all the people from the Flinta umbrella. So what I mean by vulnerability, it's like because people were feeling safe and vulnerable, they could share the experience with other people from the event, and there is a certain trust that is building.
Yeah,
you know, and when you build a trust with the people around you, you create an experience. It was also a good way for people to connect, to network from the Flinta sphere, because since we were inviting different people from different domains, which is of art and music, I mean other different kind of domains, was a good way to network and connect and get to meet people from the same community. And being vulnerable, it's beautiful actually, because you are all like sharing and feeling safe, and I think this whole feeling was not only happening during the event, it also took life after the dance floor, and that's what I found beautiful. How I got to know so many new artists, and how this whole thing lived beyond the dance floor.
Yeah, were you facilitating this kind of like safe space by doing sessions in a group, or this up and naturally? Okay.
Yes, we did. We really had like a chronology of things to make people feeling safe. We also have like an awareness team. We also had money for trans people to go home after the event if they don't feel safe to go home with the public transport. Right. But it was I mean, we had some, as I say, breathing exercise workshop, meditation, sound meditation. We also had workshop dealing with mental health care. Yeah. Because I mean, it's still very difficult to be a trans person nowadays in our society, you know, and we felt very, very affected by it. And so yeah, it was a space for this for people to express themselves, and little by little, connection were made, and throughout the whole night, you could see how little groups were gathering and hugging, and was beautiful to see. So
it's beautiful.
It's a process, you know. It's like a way to make people feel safe little by little throughout the progression of the event.
Yeah, and I really like that, like eventually the community is forming and staying after the events that you put together. Yeah.
And we have this Telegram group where people are sharing their experience and like giving advice for us to improve. Yeah, it's like such an open conversation that we are all growing together and like learning and like going to the same direction all together, and that's what I find enriching.
Very, very interesting. And for people who want to get more involved, want to find out more, shall they go on website, Instagram?
We have convent.org. We have Instagram. Mostly Instagram, I would say, because we share a lot of content, not necessarily about our event, but a lot of themes, and when there are important events happening, dealing with the Flinta community, we share as much as we can. We also did some, not only like these big events, but workshop, like full moon ceremony. We did a different kind of other little events happening in galleries and stuff. So yeah, if you want to follow,
Instagram is
yeah, I would say Instagram and our website,
very cool.
where we have the manifesto that really explain the reason why we're doing this. And yeah.
We will link it up in the show notes in the description.
Okay, thank you.
And a pleasure. And for Alice, we're not necessarily Flinta, but want to help and support. What could be a way?
Well, spread the word, being understanding about what is going on, you know, like I think the best way to support is understanding that we need this.
Yeah.
You know, not staying in the old-fashioned way of making things happening. Just being supportive and also spread the words with their friends who could resonate with a collective and wants to be part of it.
Very cool. And you spoke a little bit about the challenges sometimes in the scene. Like when you look at the broader DJ scene or being an artist, what are things that might be a challenge for example, for a woman that is entering the world of DJing and might feel non-represented, or for a transgender female, for example, that feels they're not represented? What could be like, what challenges do you see, and what could be ways for people to navigate these challenges?
Well, I think everyone should take their responsibilities. The promoters, the bookers, I mean, there are some challenges, of course. But how I see things now, it's getting better. Mm-hmm. There's been an improvement, because like when I started to go out in Berlin, basically the last 10 decades, most of the lineups were fully male. And I didn't even realize that, you know, I was like discovering, I was like, whoa. But then the more I grew up and the more I was part of the scene, I became a bit conscious and be like, wait, okay, there's not much women out there, you know? And what I'm a bit optimistic, because now I see on the lineups more and more diversified lineups with like more Flinta artists who are part of it. And the challenge is, when I say it's a global challenge, it means that like, I think it's also the promoters who needs to do the effort to do some research in order to book more Flinta artists. Nowadays, we are not reaching a point where we can allow ourselves to say like, music, only the music count, the gender doesn't count, and the color of the skin doesn't count. Actually, we are not there yet, you know?
Yeah.
We've been so much into one extreme that at some point you even have to do another extreme to make the balance, you know?
Yeah.
And it's very important now that we have the accessibility of digital accessibility, and you can easily find some Flinta artists that will also fit with your lineup, not only booking Flinta artists because they are Flinta.
Yes.
You know, like, I'm pretty sure, and I know there's a lot of women who are doing my style of techno. You just have to look for it, you know? And it's an effort that has to be done by the people from the scene, you know?
Yeah.
And maybe one day, so as I say, like, it does matter, the gender nowadays. It really does, to make this balance. And maybe one day, when everything's going to be normalized, maybe we wouldn't care about the gender and like the who's playing, the color of the skin or whatever, because it would be equilibrated, balanced enough for us not to reflect on it. But we're not there yet. So I really push the people to make a lot of effort on finding things. And sometimes these are the conversations I'm having when I'm playing in some events, where there are still some people who are like still like having this kind of old school opinion, which I understand. But and then I put myself into the skin, and I'm like, I was like you. Like when I was going to this club, it was only guys. But man, you are the future. Take your responsibility. You represent the future of the scene. So please do some research. Do these things. And in the end, you know, we ended up having a big group hug. It was like, thank you so much for also making me realizing this. And I'm super happy also to share my list of Flinta artists, you know, like of where they can find these people. Because, I mean, we need it now. We need it now more than ever to make things change. And then not at some point being like, okay, it doesn't matter, you know, but we're not there yet. Yeah,
that's a super interesting point, because essentially the lack of balance has been there forever until the last few years.
Yeah.
And there is structurally, like, there is people who are more privileged than others. So we need to, find smart ways to actually rebring the balance. So then when we're like all are really equal, then
Yeah.
it's okay to say, okay, it doesn't matter, you know.
Yeah.
what the-
But
know.
we're not there yet.
We're not there, yeah.
But also not being lazy to just book all the time the same woman or the same non-binary or
Yeah.
like the same Flinta DJ, you know, like do the effort to bring new people, give them the opportunity to make their experience. So in 7 years they're gonna be as experienced as the rest. But
Yeah.
we need to give this opportunity to these people. And there is also something that I wanted to see. Yeah, role model.
Yeah.
We need to have more role models, you know. I mean, when I play, I have a lot of girls in like the front row is girls because they're like, whoa, she's a girl, she's playing. I mean, you know, okay, I'm like fitting a certain trait of character. I have a certain personality, but I think we need to also have more Flinta artists.
Right.
Where a lot of other Flinta people will look up to, you know, and be like,
Yeah.
because not only that specific role model that it's like, well, she's a woman, she's objectifying herself and blah blah blah. I mean, good for her. Maybe she likes this kind of sexual aspect that she wants to reflect, like project. But there are also all different kind of personality that
Yeah.
will create different role models to whom a lot of different people can look up to. You know.
Definitely, the variety brings also representation. When you see like very
Exactly.
different kinds of people playing, and it's not just one type of personality,
Yeah.
an aspect, whatever. Like brings people to, like everybody will start thinking, I can be that person.
Exactly,
next.
I can be that person.
Yeah, and that's probably a very interesting point. I think that we should get to the point where we have broader representation of any kind of
Diversity.
exactly diversity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also the energy of I mean, I'm talking as a woman. Behind the decks is different from a man.
Yeah.
So it's also good to diversify the energy that you have behind the decks, you know, because it's just we have different sensitivity. The energy is different, and people feel it. You know.
Yeah.
You cannot neglect that. So,
Yeah. Thank you. And one more question, and then we go into the very final questions. So for people who are approaching the music scene, and they might feel a bit introverted, so they struggle to approach. You mentioned before, part of your story was also like going out and meeting artists and starting having friendships with them.
Yeah.
For people who are, maybe they're not in Berlin, they don't have access to clubs every weekend.
Yeah.
And maybe they're even introverted. They struggle to communicate with anybody. Do you have any ideas, any suggestions that could help them?
Well, I guess social media is a good tool for that, to be able to connect with artists. I mean, a lot of people are very scared to share their work or like interact with DJs who are playing a lot. But trust me, they are super open-minded. And like, I think, yeah, if you're living in a place where you don't have the opportunity to go out, I would say put some money on the side and go and experience some physical interaction and human interaction, because this is quite important. But on the side, don't be scared to share things through the social media, because this is the best way to actually get in touch with the artists that you like, with whom you want to share some tracks and want to get feedbacks. They are really open. So just don't be scared. And I think, this is a good tool to connect with people from different countries and from the rest of the world.
Yeah, and it's available, so people use it. So a couple of final questions, very fast. If you have a day where you can do nothing productive, cannot be music, cannot be convent, cannot be anything like that is like for something productive, well, how would you spend the time?
Well, I would read manga.
Yeah?
Yeah, I love mangas.
You like mangas?
I love mangas. I love drawing mangas. So I think I would just draw and I will draw and read mangas. That's my second passion. Yeah.
Very cool. If you were not a DJ, what profession do you think you would explore? Could be anything.
The dance. Yeah, more physical expression. For sure.
Very cool.
Yeah.
One thing you are very excited about that is coming for you in your life or music?
The launch of my label.
Yeah.
Yeah, finally. There's been a lot of like pressing problems, and finally it's gonna see the light in mid-July.
Very cool. This year?
Yeah.
Very cool.
So very soon. I'm excited. It's my new baby, and a lot of artists who really send me beautiful works, and I'm really happy to share it finally with everyone.
Very cool. And so you will be available, I guess it's going to be vinyls.
Every vinyl and digital.
Vinyl digital, okay. So
I mean,
Bandcamp,
for me it's good to have the vinyl, but I don't want to limit the access.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people from the other side of the world who would like to have access to this music. So of course I want also it to be digital.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure we will know more and we'll share.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yes.
And last question, we have a traditional at Almost Sound, which is every guest asks a question for the next guest. So you get the chance to ask a question for our next guest. What would you ask them? You don't know who they're gonna be.
What would be their pronouns?
They pronounce, okay.
Yeah.
And there's a question for you, of course, which is, what do you think is your purpose?
My purpose?
Mm-hmm. In life?
Being enlightened.
Mm-hmm.
And being more mindful. I think enlightenment is a good purpose. If I can getting closer to enlightenment, that would be good.
It is an amazing purpose, and I mean, if you reach it, tell me, let me know.
I would try to go as close as I can to it, and yeah, I think everyone have different paths, but I'm pretty sure everyone can reach it at some point. So I wish this for everyone.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing and for being with us. It's been an amazing conversation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Olivia.